What's up? Welcome to Developer Semicolon. In today's video, I'll bust some myths about what website builders can't do. I'll eat an apple, and Jet the editor will edit me into a pixelated GIF at some point in this video. Enjoy. All right, let's settle this dilemma once and for all. Website builders are not just for amateurs that want to slap some templates together. They're not for amateurs. Get it? Not for amateurs. You might think that, but it's not. You get the gist. You get the gist. So let's start easy and buckle up. Myth number one, website builders don't give you much flexibility with styling your content. What do website builders usually give you? Well, they give you color changes, font changes, positioning changes. You can apply themes to the whole site, themes to the components, but that's usually where it ends. Well, with Wix Studio, you get much more functionality. Let me show you. What we're working with here is a very simple page that I've just created before. And essentially you have this code block that you can initiate. And under CSS, you can add a global.css file. Now, what that actually allows you to do is when you select a specific component that you're working with, you can add a CSS class to it. We have properties and events, but you also have the CSS classes. Now, I'm going to call this one resize, as I get indicated here, because what I want to do is resize this box. And essentially now what I can do is call this class inside of my global.css, and I can specify some parameters that I want to apply to this box. Before I do so, let's have a look at what it looks like now when I actually run the page. And realistically, we're waiting for nothing because it just looks the same apart from the little fancy pull me down animation that I did. Now, if I go back and I'll add my styling to this resize class that's applied to this whole component here, I'm going to say I want a max height of 200 pixels. I'm going to say that I want a height of 30 pixels. I'm going to say that I want an overflow of hidden because I don't want any content to come out outside of the box. And I want a resize parameter to be vertical. I want to resize in the vertical direction. And now once I've written it, if I edit this site again and I preview it, you'll see that the content has now shrinked. And it says pull me down when I'm going to follow the instructions. I've got a little piece of the corner here that I can grab, and I can pull this component down and actually add more functionality and more maybe interaction just with pure CSS. Well, you wouldn't be able to do that in any other website builder. So, myth number one, busted. Quick break. One apple a day keeps the coder. One apple a day keeps the coder away. Sway, bay. I give up, okay? One apple a day keeps the coder okay. Myth number two, you can't use NPM and install different packages inside of website builders. Well, you'll be very wrong. Let me show you. Right here in our code panel, yet again, you can go onto packages and apps, and inside packages and apps, you have NPM, and you can install packages from NPM. Now, Wix Studio in this case supports all the NPM packages that are available out there. You can literally search for them. You can see some top packages from NPM that are just visible right here, like UUID, Stripe, Axios for sending your API requests, Crypto.js, NodeMailer, Twilio, and so on and so forth. Today, we're going to try and find a package called Validator for validating input fields, email addresses, and so on. So I'm going to search for it. Validator. And here, string validation and sanitization. That's what I want, and I'm going to install it. Wait for the install to take place. What's actually happening now is like you running npm install in your terminal, and you can see we've got the validator. We can view it, and under npm packages, validator is right here. Now, I'll show you how to use it when we bust our third myth, but in this case, myth number two is busted. Myth number three, website builders can't handle backend code. Well, you'll be wrong, and let me show you. Again, inside of Wix Studio, under the code section, we have backend and public. And under backend and public, we just have backend where we can actually add a web module. Now, I'm going to add a web module, and I'm going to call it validator right here. And what you'll notice is we get all these files that are spawning for us. Now, as part of these files, well, I can just delete this commented.code, and we can see that we also get a basic kind of pre-built function that Wix Studio provides you. Now, we'll need to use this, but first of all, let's import that npm package from the last video. Import validator from validator. So that's our npm package that we installed via npm. Now let's actually write some functionality for the validator. Now in Wix Studio, they'll provide you with this function called the web method, which allows you to simply essentially call a backend function via the front end. And essentially, as part of this web method, it takes two parameters. It takes permissions and it takes the function that we're writing. Now in our case, the function won't take any parameters. And what it will return, or actually not even return, but just console log, is this email valid. That's what we're going to print. And as part of the other part, we're going to use the validator function and say, well, is this an email? And inside of this, we're going to pass in an email that is faulty. So I'm going to say Philip at faultyemail.com. So we've made a mistake here on purpose. The other thing that we need to do is just call this function from our home front end get on ready function. So realistically, what we just have to do is import that function that we've exported here, the export const, in this case called multiply. We're going to call it validate email, right? And if I go back to the home, I'm going to import validate email from, and now we're going to reference our backend file. So we're going to do backend/validator.web.js, like so. And now we're going to just call this validate email function right here. So now when I run the front end, and I'll press this run button here, you'll notice in the console that as it loads up, it's going to check the email and say, well, is this email valid? And it's a false because we entered the false email. And that's how you can start writing your very complex backend code directly in a website builder. So in that case, myth number 3, busted. Myth number 4, you're stuck with whatever database the website builder gives you. Well, with other website builders, that might be the case, but not with Wix Studio. Let me show you. If we go to databases and you see your databases, first of all, you can connect to an external database. Now, if I press the plus and I'll add an external database, well, you get lots of options. You can either go custom or you can connect to a Google Cloud, Azure, or AWS, well, with MySQL, Postgre, Aurora, BigQuery, Spanner, and so on and so forth. So the options are endless. The other thing that you can do, which is what I like, especially for demo projects or projects that require not much data at all to do something cool, is create a collection. And I'm going to show you that you can create a collection. Here you can start from scratch. You can import a CVS, or you can create a collection with AI, which is what I like. And I'm going to call this names, and I'm going to add some details. Generate random names, like so. Now click next. And now what it's going to do is it's going to generate some fields, propose some suggestions for me. In this case, I don't want any of these. I just want the names. And I'll tell it to create a collection. And as you can see, the content management system just generated a name database with Michael, Emily, Jacob, Olivia, Daniel, which is great because now if I want to dynamically load them onto the page, if I click, for example, on the text, and right here on the right, I'll click CMS connections, and I'll choose a dataset. In this case, I'm going to add a dataset and choose the collection, which I called names. And I'm going to name this dataset random names. And I'll create this. Then I can look at the connections here and I can connect the name field to the text, pulling out a name and dropping it here. And obviously you can add some JavaScript functionality to play around with the CMS here or the names collections that you've created and generate those names based on whatever rules you might apply. So myth number 4, busted. All right, and finally onto... Wait. What was that sound? Hello? Oh wait, I don't feel right. Wait, what? What's happening? What's happening? Ah! Whew. Wow, that was an experience. Where were we? And myth number 5. Website builders don't support Git versioning. Like GitHub. Well, let me show you something. In our code panel, in Wix Studio, you have a GitHub option and you can connect to GitHub and we can continue. And I think the rest is pretty self-explanatory. So I think on that note, I can say myth number 5 is busted. So that is all that I have for you guys today. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you also learned a lot. And if you did, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you leave me a nice comment because I'm cool and you like me and you want to watch more videos. And on that note, I'll see you in the next one.